powerful company in tech has a model it cannot seem to ship. It was announced on stage to the whole world in May. The CEO personally promised it within a month. That deadline passed, a second one passed, 2 days ago, a third one passed. And right now, there's a prediction market with over $300,000 riding on when, or whether, it finally arrives. This is the story of Gemini 3.5 Pro, Google's missing flagship, and it's a better story than any launch video, because hiding inside these delays is a rare, honest look at what it actually costs to build a frontier AI model in 2026. The engineering failures nobody planned to reveal, the brutal arithmetic of shipping late into the fastest-moving market in software history, and a question every developer watching should sit with. Would you rather have a model that's late and right, or on time and wrong? As always on this channel, what's confirmed, what's reported, and what's still just rumor, clearly separated. Let's rewind to where the promise was made. May 19th, Google I/O, the biggest developer stage Google has. The company unveils the Gemini 3.5 series and ships Gemini 3.5 Flash the very same day. Generally available, fast, agent-focused, and genuinely well-received. But Flash was the opening act. The headliner was Gemini 3.5 Pro, the model positioned to absorb everything Google's Ultra tier used to represent. The hardest reasoning problems, deep multimodal work, and truly massive context. 2 headline capabilities were announced. First, a 2 million token context window, double Flash's 1 million, and the largest of any production frontier model if it ships as described. Enough to hold entire code bases, entire document archives, entire books of case law in a single conversation. Second, a reasoning mode Google calls Deep Think, aimed at the class of problems where models plan, backtrack, and verify rather than answer in one pass. But Pro did not ship that day. It went into a limited preview for a small set of enterprise customers on Vertex AI, while running internally at Google. And on stage, Sundar Pichai told a room full of developers, and by multiple accounts you could hear the groans. Quote, "Give us until next month to get it to you." Next month came. Next month went. Through June, the public model list never changed. Prediction markets at the time put the odds of a June release at roughly a coin flip, and the coin came up tails. As of late June, Gemini 3.5 Pro remained exactly where it started. Internal use, plus that limited enterprise preview. Miss number 1. And then the story got genuinely interesting, because the reason for the delay leaked. According to reporting from industry press citing sources familiar with the matter, and I want to flag clearly that Google has not confirmed this, engineers discovered structural failures in the original 3.5 Pro base model, not cosmetic issues, failures in recursive tool calling, and reportedly, of all things, in SVG generation. And rather than patch around them, Google is reported to have made a remarkable decision: scrap the base model entirely and rebuild from scratch. Let me translate why that first failure, if accurate, would justify something that drastic. Recursive tool calling is the beating heart of the agentic era. It's the loop where a model calls a tool, reads the result, decides what to call next, and keeps going, dozens or hundreds of steps, to complete real work. Every coding agent you've seen on this channel lives and dies by that loop. A chatbot with shaky tool loops is a minor embarrassment. A 2026 flagship with structural failures in its agent loop is dead on arrival because agents are the entire battlefield now. If the reporting is right, Google looked at a model that could impress in a demo but couldn't be trusted in a loop, and chose to eat the delay rather than ship it. Whatever else you think of the slips, that specific decision is the kind engineers respect and executives dread. So, a rebuild from the ground up under the worst possible spotlight, which brings us to July. Third-party reporting converged on a new target, July 17th. Worth stating plainly, Google never confirmed that date. No launch post, no model card, no pricing page. The date lived in leaks, community posts, and coverage of those leaks. But enough teams planned around it that when July 17th arrived 2 days ago and the public API still listed no generally available Gemini 3.5 Pro, it registered everywhere as miss number 3. The aftermath reporting adds 2 more wrinkles. First, per industry coverage, Google is now weighing a stopgap release, some intermediate step to fill the gap. And second, one analysis floated something bigger, that Google could skip the 3.5 Pro generation entirely and pour those resources into the next line, a Gemini 4.0 Flash. That is analyst speculation, not a plan Google has stated, but the fact that serious observers consider it plausible tells you how unusual this situation has become. Companies do not typically announce a flagship on their biggest stage, attach a CEO-level promise to it, and then let it quietly dissolve. And because it's 2026, the uncertainty itself became a market. On Polymarket, a prediction market on when Google's new reasoning flagship ships has attracted over $320,000 in trading volume. As of this week, the crowd's leading answer, 81% probability it arrives by July 31st. Take that for what it is, a betting crowd, not a source. But it's a perfect snapshot of where trust stands. Probably soon. Believe it when the model card exists. Now here's why every one of these missed weeks costs more than the last. Look at what shipped around the silence. July 1st, Claude Fable 5 came back online globally after its 17-day export control suspension, the saga we covered in our GLM 5.2 video, and immediately reclaimed the top of the benchmark conversation. July 9th, OpenAI took GPT 5.6 to general availability in 3 tiers, Sol at $5 per million input tokens and 30 out, Terra at $2.50 and 15, Luna at $1 and 6. July 16th, Moonshot launched Kimi K3, and within days, blind testers on Arena ranked it #1 for front-end code, ahead of every closed flagship. And running underneath all of it, the open weight release train, GLM 5.2, K3's weights promised within days, shipping relentlessly, on schedule, in public. That is the market Gemini 3.5 Pro will eventually walk into. Every competitor it was announced against has either shipped, returned, or leapfrogged. In this industry, a 2-month slip isn't a scheduling detail, it's a generation. Models announced after 3.5 Pro will be reviewed before it. So the fair question is, how can Google, of all companies, afford this? And the honest answer is, better than anyone else could. This is the Steelman, and it deserves airtime. Google's advantage was never being first, it's being everywhere. Gemini 3.5 Flash is already the default model inside the consumer Gemini experience, inside Search's AI mode, inside Android, inside Workspace. A distribution footprint no rival can match. Flash carries the line while Pro bakes. And notice what else kept moving while the flagship didn't. At I/O, Google also shipped Anti-Gravity 2.0, its agent-first development platform, and in mid-June, its new anti-gravity command line tool formally replaced the old Gemini CLI. The tooling, the agents, the platform, all of it shipped on schedule around the hole where the model should be. That's not a company that stopped executing, it's a company that stopped, very specifically, on one bet it refuses to lose twice. Google also has institutional scar tissue here. It has been burned before by shipping AI in a hurry to answer a rival, and the memory of those stumbles reportedly shapes exactly this kind of caution. From that seat, the calculus reads differently. A late flagship costs weeks of headlines. A flawed flagship, deployed instantly to a billion user surface area, costs something far worse. When you ship to everyone by default, move fast stops being a virtue. But there's a counterweight, and developers feel it daily. Trust compounds in both directions. Every missed date teaches teams to discount the next announcement. The audible groan in that I/O keynote wasn't rudeness. It was the sound of developers who had already priced in a slip. That's the real cost ledger of the missing model. Not the delay itself, but what the delay does to the weight of Google's next promise. So what should you actually do with all this practically today? 3 things. 1. Do not build plans on leaks. The only launch signal that counts is Gemini 3.5 Pro, appearing as a generally available model in the public API documentation, with a model card and a pricing page. Name registrations, canary strings, and confident tweets are not a launch. And a note for non-developers watching. Reports indicate that when Pro does arrive, it reaches Google's paid consumer plans first, the $20 AI Pro tier and the $100 AI Ultra tier, before the free experience. So launched and available to you may be 2 different dates as well. 2. If you genuinely need Pro tier capability on Google's stack now, the Enterprise preview on Vertex AI exists. That's an account manager conversation, not a waitlist form. 3. For everyone else, the production options are on the shelf today. Gemini 3.5 Flash for the Google ecosystem, GPT 5.6 Terra as the mid-price workhorse, Fable 5 at the premium tier. And as this channel has covered all month, open weight models closing the gap at a fraction of the cost. If the 2 million token context is the thing you're waiting for, and for code-based scale work, it's a legitimate thing to wait for, then wait with alternatives running, not with a blocked roadmap. Let's do the recap the way this channel always does. Confirmed versus reported, 45 seconds. Confirmed, announced May 19th at I/O Flash shipped that day. Pro did not. Pro has been in limited Vertex Enterprise preview and internal use ever since. The CEO publicly promised it within a month, and multiple targets have now passed without a general release. Google's public API lists no generally available 3.5 Pro as of today. Reported but not confirmed, the July 17th date itself, the scrapped and rebuilt base model, and the recursive tool calling failures behind it, the stopgap release, the 2 million token context window as a final shipping spec, the skip to 4.0 scenario, and the July 31st crowd estimate, which is a bet, not a fact. Step back, and the missing model tells you something bigger about where AI is in 2026. We've spent this month watching one side of the industry, the open weight labs, ship on brutal public cadences. GLM 5.2 landing the day after Arrival went dark, Kimi setting scale records 9 months out of 12, weights on the internet where no one can unship them. And now we're watching the other side, a closed flagship announced with total confidence that exists only as a promise until the day it doesn't. The Moat used to be the model. Then, it was the price. This month is making the case that the real Moat is release velocity. The simple compounding ability to put the thing in people's hands on the date you said. On that metric, the scoreboard right now does not look the way anyone would have predicted 2 years ago. To be clear, Gemini 3.5 Pro will very likely ship, and if the announced specs hold, a 2 million token frontier model from Google will be a genuinely big deal that we will cover properly, benchmarks and caveats and all. When it lands, the follow-up to this video is already planned. Subscribe and you'll see it the day it happens. So here's my question for you, and I'll pin it below. As a developer, which one actually earns your trust? The lab that ships late but right, or the lab that ships fast and fixes in public? There's a real argument on both sides, and I want the working developer answers because they'll shape how we cover every launch after this one. Every source in this video, the I/O announcements, the API documentation, the industry reporting on the rebuild, and the prediction market, is linked in the description so you can verify each claim and check on any given day whether the missing model has finally appeared. That's the standard on this channel. If you want the full story behind the headlines everyone else just reads out loud, sourced, honest, and in plain English every single day, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.